What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be unboxing a relatively newer Daron model release that, even though it is a common model, it is somewhat not as well known compared to other newer Daron model releases. And that is the Jet2 Airlines Boeing 737-800 single plane. So this model was an early 2021 release that was manufactured from 2020 up until still currently being produced now in 2024. And even though the models weren't actually released until around January of 2021, a majority of those models that were being sold when they first came out were manufactured throughout 2020 and into 2021. So as you can see, I do have two of these models right here. After nearly 4 years since the Jet2 737 was first released, I was finally able to get two of these models together off of eBay for around $15 each. I wasn't originally going to get them off of the airplane shop, but after I put together both of these models together for pricing wise, and then once I saw the shipping for airplane shop, getting them off of the airplane shop would ultimately be $10 more than buying them off of eBay, so I just decided to buy both of these off of eBay instead. And I think the main reason why it has taken me this long to finally buy the Jet2 737 is mainly because since they were released, I don't think they have ever been listed on pretty much the most common website, which is Amazon, and which is a vast majority where I do get most of my Daron planes. The Jet2 737 was never released off of Amazon, and the times it was listed on eBay, it was always just an off and on thing. It was never consistently listed on eBay as just a general listing like a majority of the other common Daron and Realtoy models. So the mix of those two together just kind of made me not really think much about the model, and really took me a while to finally get them. And I think another part of that is kind of the reason why these models are sort of not as well known. Even though they are common, they're just really not talked that much about between collectors and stuff. I think a main reason for that could also be the fact that a vast majority of the Daron and Realtoy collectors are kind of based in the US, and since the Jet2 737, it's not listed on Amazon, and it's not very commonly listed on eBay. Just a mix of those two together, since it's an airline that you don't see in the US, I just think that kind of plays a role in the fact of why this model just really isn't too popular. But I do think this model definitely deserves a lot more attention than the very little attention that it does get, just because of the very nice painting design on the model and the overall livery for the Jet2 livery design. And the reason why I decided to get two of these models is that I will open one and then I will keep the other one new condition in the box. The reason for that was because until these actually arrived, I originally thought they were discontinued. Because of the fact that off of websites they're kind of off and unlisted. Usually they are listed for a period of time, and then they're out of stock, and then they're in stock, and they're just a very kind of unpredictable model for if you're trying to get it. So because of that, I really thought they were discontinued, and I never really heard much about their production until they arrived, and I saw that their manufacturing dates were in 2024, which in case any of you were aware of the Realtoy production kind of failure, Realtoy going out of business, Daron taking over the company, and they're now producing their planes. That's pretty much what I realized when I saw that the manufacturing dates for these were in 2024. They were relatively early. The manufacturing dates for these, I believe, on the back of the boxes were in January of 2024, so they were relatively new. There is a chance they could still be Realtoy, but I highly believe that they are the new Daron models, which if these are the new Daron produced models, then they will be the first new of these Daron models in my collection. So as for any info behind the Jet2 737, apart from the fact that it was released in January of 2021, produced from 2020 until still currently being produced today, the Jet2 737 is only available as a single plane model, and is currently still one of the only produced models that does have a real manufacturing date on it. And I'm not sure about any Jet2 737s that are currently being produced right now, but as of January of this year, when these models were manufactured, they still do currently have stickers on them. There is a high possibility that they are painted now, but the model definitely would have had to been updated within the last couple months in order for it to be painted. So if anyone does have a newer produced Jet2 737 that is painted, let me know down in the comments. Because then this model would definitely be a lot nicer if it was fully painted rather than having stickers on it, just because I think the really nice livery design for the chrome livery on this model with the nice red and white sticker pattern. It really would look nice if this model was fully painted, especially with Daron taking over the Realtoy company with producing these models. I definitely think that would be a really nice update for this particular model. But that is pretty much all of the information for the Jet2 737. Like I mentioned before, these models cannot be purchased off of Amazon, for the US at least. But they can be found off of eBay every so often. But if you're definitely trying to buy these models sort of immediately, I would definitely look towards purchasing them off of either the Daron website or the airplane shop. And throughout the UK, it definitely should be not difficult to purchase these models and stuff. So going into some information about Jet2 Airlines in general. So Jet2.com Airlines, or mostly just known as Jet2.com, is a British low-cost airline that operates both scheduled and charter flights from the UK and pretty much all throughout Europe. They are currently the third largest scheduled airline in the UK and are the largest tour operator in the UK above TUI. So Jet2.com was first founded in January of 1978, 46 years ago, as Express Air Services, and they commenced operations in 1983 as Channel Express. They officially became Jet2.com in February of 2003. So they currently operate a fleet of 112 aircraft throughout 80 different destinations. Most of their fleet consists of 93 737-800s, which is what the particular Jet2 Daron model is produced as. They operate 6 Boeing 757-200s, 12 A321s, including both the A321ceo and A321neo. And then they also have 7 737-300s in their fleet as well. So one of the main things about Jet2.com is that I think lots of people do know them for is the fact that they have two very different livery designs. They have their usual Jet2.com livery, which is the particular livery that the Daron model is produced as. This livery always reminds me of being more of a classy livery design that makes it not look like a low-cost airline and just overall looks more formal and professional, kind of like the older American Airlines livery, the bare metal chrome livery. And then they also have their Jet2 Holidays livery. So I did do a little bit of research, and both of those two liveries, the reason why they do have the two different livery designs is that the two liveries represent the two parts of the airline's business, as both just a normal airline such as like Delta and American Airlines for the US, and then as a tour operator, basically a low-cost airline for the UK, which is kind of like for the US would be sort of like Spirit or Southwest or Frontier as a low-cost airline. So the Jet2 Holidays livery pretty much represents the tour operation part of it as well as their holidays company. And the other thing with Jet2 Holidays that everyone notices is that their livery is pretty much identical to what Allegiant is in the US. So I tried doing a little bit of research on that, and I guess Allegiant and Jet2 Holidays kind of share some sort of partnership, and which is why they use some of the same general livery design. But I might be missing some info on that, so if you do want to do your own research on that and figure some more out about all of that, you can feel free to do so. So like I mentioned before about the Daron Jet2 737, this is one of the only currently produced Daron models that does have a real registration number. So the registration number on this particular model is G-GDFR, which is the real registration number for a 21-year-old Boeing 737-8Z9, which started service in 2003 with Lauda Airlines and later went to Austrian Airlines in 2004. They stayed with Austrian Airlines from 2004 until 2013, when they then went to Jet2.com. They have flown with Jet2.com since 2013 and is currently still with the airline today. So that pretty much is all of the information for the Daron Jet2 737 model and the background information for the particular aircraft that this model is based off of, as well as the information for Jet2.com Airlines. So starting off here for the review of the plane and the review of the box. The model I will be unboxing is the one over here on the left, just because the box on this one is does have a little bit other damage on it rather than this one, and I'd rather keep the nicer looking box in new condition state. So the top of the box, pretty much the entire box is all in the Jet2 red coloring, apart from the back that you can see here. The Jet2 logo is displayed up at the top front face of the box, as well as on the top of the box. I really do like the Jet2 logo with the little aircraft displayed in the J, and then the 2 with the dot on the end for the .com. And the top of it has the small warning label with, surprisingly, a really large font, the ages 3 and plus. On the bottom, there is the new Daron logo with the item number for the particular model, and then the authentic livery die-cast metal and plastic parts. On the side of the box, it also has the Jet2 logo displayed there with a really nice view of the plane on the inside through the clear plastic covering on the box, with the usual sky blue background piece with some clouds in there as well. I do think this would have been a really nice model to incorporate the Jet2 logo on the inside, maybe in a red font. I think that really would have been cool to kind of coincide with the red box, and then on the inside to kind of go along with the white Jet2 logo to having a red Jet2 logo with the same kind of coloring. I think that would have been cool, since there definitely is some space up there, but usually Daron does not do that. Now, definitely in more recent models, they have not been doing that in probably over 10 years, but so yeah, same thing on the left side of the box as well with the Jet2 logo. And for some reason on this one, between where the back of the box is for the left side, or more the right side of the box, for some reason this like part kind of sticks out a little bit, but it is stuck, so it's not like loose or anything, but for some reason it does stick out a little bit. But the box art image on this model is very nice for this box. It has the top portion here in more of the red coloring. I do think they kind of could have had the blue sky go up a little bit more, but it still is a really nice design. Then they have the Jet2 737-800 displayed here in the really nice Jet2 friendly low fares livery design. Their Jet2 logo up here with the red jet, and then the 2 in the white coloring, or they could have had this logo on the inside as well. I think that also would have been really nice. The usual authentic livery, die-cast metal, and plastic parts displayed on the background as well. And one thing I did forget to mention before is that this particular model was actually, even when it was produced by Realtoy and manufactured by Realtoy, it actually was not fully distributed by Daron. I think it might have been some sort of partnership, but this model was actually distributed and is still currently distributed by both Daron and this other distributor that goes by the name right here, SRF Trading Limited. So I think this is somewhat of a more newer company. I have not really researched it yet, but I believe this is a more newer company that does distribute some Daron models, and I'm not sure if they do distribute any other Daron models or have distributed any others in the past, but I will definitely be looking more into this company and for any other newer future models that might be distributed by this particular distributor as well. So both of these logos are displayed right there with this is something that's incorporated on all of the newer Daron models with the hashtag Daron Planes and @DaronPlanes, which is their social media info for both Instagram, YouTube, I think other websites like TikTok, Facebook, or whatever. That is all the information there. All the other details displayed here for the box and stuff, and then the barcode over here. And the main thing, another thing that you can tell if a model is produced by Daron is where it is made. So the Realtoy models used to be made in China, but the current Daron models are now being produced in Vietnam. So I definitely think this model is one of the new Daron ones rather than being Realtoy, so I will see once I open it up. So I do already have the tape on the bottom of the box already slit. I did that before I started filming, so that way it'll be a little bit easier so I don't have to cut it in the middle of filming this video. So I did recently start doing this, but I do think the best way to open the Daron boxes, especially if you want to keep the box in the best condition as possible, is to open it up from the bottom. And I've had this one since it's been sitting out a little bit. It's kind of had some time to kind of adjust to it. So I think opening it up would definitely be a much more easier and simple process. So that way you don't cause any creases on the little flap here. The main part will definitely be kind of sliding it out of the box. But as long as you're just careful with it, it really should cause no problems. And then the plane pretty much just slides out perfectly fine like that. Yeah, definitely the whole thing is pretty much stickers, but the actual, oh, right here, the tail is actually fully painted then. That's pretty cool. I wasn't sure about that. I noticed when it was in the box that it definitely looked like a perfect sticker, which is usually very rare for these particular models. but that is really cool. So the design on the tail is fully painted and printed on. It is no longer a sticker on both sides of it, but of course the main part of the fuselage is of course a sticker. You can definitely see that right there. There is some peeling right on the sticker, but just from the time it's been sitting in the box, and definitely on some older models you can definitely tell, but usually every model does have its own little thing like that with the stickers. But overall, it is really nicely detailed on the box and stuff. Really no issues on it. A little bit of separation right here, but I'll have to see once I cut the little plastic pieces off of it. Definitely think it is a Daron model, but overall, really glad to finally have this model in my collection. Really nice design on the livery there. And just, yeah, so whenever you're opening the box, I would definitely suggest opening them from the bottom, just so that way you don't cause any damage to the box. Because honestly, part of pretty much having the box for a Daron model is part of, like, pretty much half of the value of the plane, at least, and part of the best parts to having particular Daron models, especially for rare ones as well. So, which is also, when I said before, why I got two, just in case this model is discontinued, because I do have a feeling this model might be discontinued. Definitely a lot sooner than some other Daron models. But, so, kind of like usual, I will pause the video real quick, just so that way I can cut the plastic pieces out and take the plane off of its cardboard piece. So here is the Jet2.com Boeing 737-800. So just to kind of compare the new Daron model to what the original Realtoy models were for the 737-800, I do have my WestJet 737-800 displayed right here as well. This is a 2019 model, and when I did open this one out and take it out of the plastic cardboard piece, I did see it does have the new Daron logo on the bottom. So I just kind of had this one here to kind of compare the new differences and any similarities and differences that there might be. Obviously, for similarities, I mean, they pretty much look identical, but I will say, from taking them out, I can definitely feel the differences between, like, the wings and other parts of the fuselage, but I will get into that comparison later. So first, I'll start off here for the review of the plane. So obviously, the entire fuselage coloring is in the really nice silver chrome livery, so I definitely think this would have been a really good detail that they could have incorporated into the original American Airlines models that they had produced for both the 757 or at least the 777 for the bare metal chrome livery. Since they were able to do this particular paint design on this model, I definitely think it was possible for them to do more of a better chrome livery on the American Airlines, at least the 777. The 757 that one's not too bad with the livery coloring design, and I do think it is good to have some differences there. But for the 777, I definitely think that model should have had more of a chrome livery rather than the green that it does have. That one is definitely a lot more green than the 757. But anyway, going back to the Jet2 737. So entire fuselage is in that really nice silver coloring. You can kind of see the difference between both the main metal portion of the plane having that more metallic silver, and then the undercarriage having a pretty much more of just a flat silver coloring to it. But overall, both really does tie well together. So starting off at the front of the plane, there are the 737-800 cockpit windows. The cockpit windows on this model are really nicely placed. They're centered and pretty straight throughout the plane. Right behind the cockpit windows is the jet room, which is, I guess, one of the sayings that they have on this particular model. They might have one different on every particular plane, kind of like the what JetBlue has in the US. They have some different names on each of the plane. This one, you can see the Jet2, the 2 logo is like really small, but it is incorporated there for the Jet2 room. Right behind that is the first main cabin door with a nice white outline, some really nice details on there for the kind of the centered window on the door, and then the emergency slide down on the bottom. So then right below the first main cabin door is when the Jet2 logo starts, with the bottom portion of the J goes along throughout the front half of the plane, pretty much from the front portion from the door all the way to where the engine starts. So coloring there is in the really nice Jet2 red, and then the white for the 2 logo. All of the cabinet windows on this model are black on the sticker, and then they have the white outline for the door plugs on the center of the fuselage. And then the engines are also in the Jet2 bright red coloring with the Jet2.com friendly low fares, and they also have their slogan up towards the center portion of the plane, going more towards the rear in the really nice sort of more cursive kind of font. Not exactly cursive, but does have a more nicer font than just some basic flat lettering. So finishing off the rest of the cabinet windows, these ones on this particular model, they are more square than kind of more ovals. And then there is the registration number, which again is G-GDFR for the real registration number for a real Jet2 737-800. So like I mentioned before, when I had taken this model out and out of the box onto when it was still on the cardboard piece, the tail on this model is actually fully painted, which is kind of surprising because I would have thought that the fuselage would have been painted with the tail still being a sticker, mainly because the tail has a lot more design on it than the whole rest of the sticker on the fuselage. Because the sticker, I mean, the sticker on the fuselage really just has the Jet2 logos and then the cabin windows and then the doors, and that's pretty much it. I mean, especially on the engines, they definitely could have painted this on. If they could paint the entire tail on this plane, they definitely could have painted the rest of it. But I think it kind of would have been better if they had painted the fuselage and then fully painted the fuselage with the airline details onto it, and then if the tail was a sticker. But it still is really nice that at least the whole thing is not fully stickers. So the tail does have the really nice design on it. It is in that full Jet2 bright, vibrant red coloring with the Jet2.com logo right there. This is the only part on the whole plane that actually has the full title name for the airline, Jet2.com. Even when looking up the airline, it really does not say, it doesn't fully say Jet2.com Airlines, which really is the full name for it, but it really is just it's really just said as Jet2.com. So same thing on both sides of the plane between details, the slogan up at the front. So going back to the Daron logo on the bottom of the plane. So you can see the manufacturing date right here, which the exact manufacturing date is January 30th, 2024. So this one, it is kind of difficult to see it in certain lighting, but if you do have a light shining directly up to it, like I do have, you can see it pretty clearly. And then on the main landing gear is the new Daron logo. So definitely to compare it with the original Realtoy logo, I still do like the Realtoy logo a lot better. It just kind of covers a lot more space, and I mean, even though they don't have the where it was made on the new one, actually never mind, they do. It's right under the Daron logo, but it's like really, really tiny. I like the Realtoy one a lot better, just because, I mean, first of all, it's the classic, what it was, and it covers a lot more space. The Daron one is just kind of like really small, off-centered, even though there is the model stand hole, which I guess is kind of a good thing. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. It's like, it's nice and I don't like it at the same time, but the main thing about this, the landing gear is pretty okay. I mean, nothing is out of place, nothing is kind of loose or whatever. But the main thing I did notice when taking this model out of the box and comparing it to the WestJet, I'm not sure if it is, but for some reason it just the WestJet just definitely feels more heavy than this one. And I just kind of feeling the metal, the die-cast metal that it is, because I mentioned this before. I had a community post where I had taken apart one of my really damaged 787 models. I was able to take off and separate the undercarriage from the main part of the fuselage. So the entire main part of the fuselage, including the tail, is a complete metal piece, which is what the die-cast metal is of the plane, and then the plastic parts is including both the landing gear, the wings, and the undercarriage. So I really do feel like the die-cast metal on this particular model, on probably all of the new Daron models, it definitely feels a lot different than it is on this one. And just for some reason, the weight difference, it's not a lot, but it's still able to be noticeable. I could just be really picky with it, but something just definitely feels different. And apart from that, also too, the wings definitely feel a lot more like thin plastic compared to what they are on WestJet. I mean, there really is no visible differences, but for some reason, they just feel a lot more durable on the WestJet one rather than on the Jet2. But I don't know, I could just be really picky about it, and there might not be any differences, but something still does feel different to me. But overall, I mean, there really is no flaws with the model. I mean, there is, like, right here in the back, it's a little bit separated, but I'm not gonna blame the new production style of it, because even some real-time models did have their certain issues. It really just depends on whichever model it is. But overall, the wings, everything is in place. The landing gear is in place. There really is nothing out of place for parts of the plane. But I still do feel like there might be something off with the weight of the plane and differences of it being manufactured. But overall, I mean, it still is pretty good. I don't have any other Daron models yet. This is the first of the new Daron models I have in my collection. I'm glad that the Jet2 one, at least, is my first one, so it's a completely new model to my collection, rather than just buying the same other one that I have just as Daron and not Realtoy. But, so yeah, everything is pretty much the same as the other Jet2 that Realtoy produced. Everything is exactly the same, and all the details are really nice. So both of these models that I have were produced on the same day. This one also has the manufacturing date. Right above the hashtag Daron Planes and at Daron Planes does have the manufacturing date for July 30th, for January 30th, 2024. So, I mean, that pretty much is all the review for this particular video. So, like I mentioned before, I'm not going to open up the other one. This one I have here, I'm going to keep new condition just to have one in case the model is discontinued, because I do have a feeling it might be discontinued a lot sooner than other more common Daron models. But the main thing about this model is it is now produced as a Daron model. It is still currently being produced, and if anyone does have a more recently manufactured Jet2 737 and it is fully painted, let me know down in the comments, because I know since Daron, with their new production style of these planes, and now that they are producing them rather than Realtoy, they have definitely not wasted any time in making their models more fully painted rather than being fully stickers. Some models they have gone back to stickers on, but the whole process is kind of odd, and I don't know, it's kind of confusing. But thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Once again, let me know down in the comments what your guys' thoughts are on this model, and if you have a fully painted one, and I will see you all in the next video.